Happy Sunday and welcome to another time with the Father. I am so glad that you're joining me and my friend Ryan. So, Ryan is here to share with us some of his mission excursions, and one of them has been with me, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I want you to introduce yourself to my audience,
All
Ryan.
right, awesome. Happy to be here. Thank you, Michelle. And yeah, my name is Ryan Dankenbring. I got saved. I came to the Lord in 2005, and shortly after getting back from war and with the Marine Corps, and then it's just been in ministry, had businesses, and done a lot of different things. Now I'm married with five kids. And so that put a big pause in ministry. It felt like, I was like, Lord, am I just going to be married with kids now, And then he called me to this thing where we're talking about today. So,
Yeah. So I think a lot of people resonate with that. I know I do. I was called into
yeah.
missions at a young age too, and then found myself single with two children and
Mhm.
thought, okay, I'm not ever going to get on the mission field. But God is faithful, isn't he? And so we were on the mission field together. We were in Guatemala and did some things together, right? Yeah, that was wonderful. Um, so but how did you get started? Okay, a wife, five children. I know his wife, she's beautiful.
Thank
Your
you.
children are amazing. Got to spend a little bit of time with Zeke yesterday. But how'd you get started then back in the mission field?
Okay, so well, I had a business that was doing we were really doing well, and the Lord called me and said that I was going to start a mission organization, and I'm like, why me? I don't understand,
Mm,
and I still don't really understand all the details, but that's where it started.
mm,
And so I said, okay, God, and he told me not to go into work, so I left it up to my team, and it was just one of the first dominoes that were leading me into what God is calling me into. And I went to church at Summit, and Lee West spoke and talked about who is the founder of the ministry I'm part of now. He was speaking about why God called him into rescuing children. And I said a prayer. I said, God, I would love to work with Lee.
mm.
And it's almost like God was looking for somebody to just say that,
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
And so we went to Guatemala, which God told me was the next step. I was like, okay, I guess I'll find out more information in Guatemala. And when I was in Guatemala, our pastor pulled me aside and said, you're going to Pakistan with Lee. I was
Wow.
like, oh, wow. All right. And I knew I was already looking for this next step. So I was like really willing to accept it. Um, and then that was another long pause until I got out to Pakistan and started doing work out there. So.
I want to talk about that, but before that, I know that I have some people that are listening that would say, I would love to do a mission trip, but like you, I'm married or I'm either single or I've got children. But so if you could say to them at this point, a misconception oh, I can't do this because we have these excuses, right? And yet you're an example. You were working, you're the breadwinner,
Yeah.
all of these things. How did you get from that? I know you've just shared some things, but what does it take
Yeah.
internally?
Yeah, so really it's just a an intention and a yes. Your heart's intent is, yes, God, I will go, and then making steps towards that, like, and just believing that that can happen, you know. I know there's a lot of like mental gymnastics we go through,
Yes.
and like, but the reality is you can do it. And if you want to, you just have to be intentional. Like, do the first step, go get your passport photo, go get your
Yeah.
passport applied for.
Yeah.
Okay, you just knocked out two huge steps right there. Then the next mission trip comes up and say, I'm gonna go talk to your spouse,
Yeah.
and then
Hmm.
just go for it and just say yes. Talk to the mission representative, and which
Yeah.
Michelle, she organizes the missions for our church. So you go to Michelle and say, hey, I want to be part of this mission organized or this mission trip
Yeah.
that you're going on, and
Yeah.
then see what God does there. See if
Yeah.
he continues to open the doors.
Yes. Yes. So let's take now a minute and switch over to where you are now because you didn't share, but you've been in the Marines and that took you all over the world
Mhm.
and and yet now you've come back, you've landed here on South Alabama and you've been to Guatemala and then Pakistan came around, right?
Yeah.
So when you were preparing to do that, as the Lord had talked with you about you were going, did you even know what it was going to look like? And like, what were you, how do you think you were going to impact lives when you were going on this? This is a very different kind of mission trip. And introduce us to the ministry at this point.
Sure. Okay. So the one rescues Lee West, who is the founder, was called into this, and it's a beautiful story. I mean, he's an older man. He's got a lot going on in his life, and just like everybody else,
True.
if anybody had excuses, Lee had excuses why he shouldn't have done this and listened to God's voice and call, but he did, and he got called out to help people that were fleeing Afghanistan, didn't have a place to hide, and didn't know where to go. And that was 2 weeks after he prayed and said, God, if you want me to rescue people, you got to show me who you want me to rescue.
Right.
And he magically gets this email. And so it was God's divine intervention. It was like, sending the email. And Lee didn't know. He was step by step. And Lee had to figure out how to be part of these girls' lives to help them because they were fleeing for their lives. And so that's how it all started. But then it turned into rescuing children out of brick kilns. It turned into, we're working with the government in Swaziland. And
Wow.
they're constantly rescuing children out of sex slavery, and they don't have a place for them. So we're right now working on creating a place in Swaziland where we can safely house children. And not only that, but raise them up to be educated and have a skill set. So when they get out of there. And then what was the first part of your question?
No, that's wonderful. Like how you're impacting those lives. I mean, my goodness, the impact is on every front, because when you can rescue even one person out of a traumatic situation, you completely change the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah.
And get them back on the path that God has planned for them, because the enemy would love, or we know he wants to kill, steal, and destroy. That's how you're impacting them. But if somebody's on the fence, Ryan, and they don't really know, like I hear, having been in missions for a long time, one of the things that I hear is, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say? How would you give them some advice about that?
Yeah. Well, you have an awesome resource, which is the Heavenly Father, and if he wants you to go, which I believe, he called us to go.
He did.
Into all nations. I know we are in a nation and you can do ministry here, but the Lord said all nations. So you have to pray and ask, what does that look like for you? And so there's a whole mixture of different ways that this comes. You can do a short-term mission. You can do a 6-month mission, year mission. You can do full-time mission work.
Yes.
So there's really, as far as, time frames go and everything, there's so many things you can do and connect with people. And the most beautiful thing is when you do go, you'll be telling yourself, why did I wait so long?
That is so true. But I keep going back to, okay, you're a man of God, but you're a breadwinner. You're married with 5 children, and yet you have this call. And so were you torn between, okay, wait a minute, I'm in America, I'm an adult, I'm pushed to be successful. So were you like, that's 2 different paths, it seems like, but is it like, what does success look like as a believer with the call of God on their lives?
Well, I think as all of us follow the Lord, he will use circumstances in our life, and he will, whether they're good or bad, he will use them for his good in when we say yes. And so, yes, I have, business experience, and I've done so many different things. This is like 21 countries I've been to or more. Starting to lose count at this point. And, I believe that God has prepared me for what he's asking me to do. And you'll find that as well as you say yes to the Lord. He might call you to do a business and say, wow, now I know why I worked in those places that I really hated. And God was using those places to grow me to this point where now I can steward a business, or now I can steward a family, or whatever it is.
I completely agree. I've said this so many times to people that come to me with all of this. Like I can't because, or how can God ever use this? But no, I don't believe anything's ever lost on God. Like you said, whatever's in our past, good or bad, if we'll give it all to the Lord, He'll use it and then launch us into the next. So, okay, I'm going to ask you one last question before I let everybody know how they can find you, support you, give you a call to action here in a moment. But so if you're a businessman or businesswoman, if you're single, if you're married, whatever your situation is, no matter what you've been through, right? What would you tell the individual that might be listening right now that's saying, man, I've been thinking about that, but, and they have this hesitancy. What would you like to leave the audience with? That it either has to do with missions or their walk with the Lord. What profound,
Yeah.
even a scripture or whatever might be coming to your mind right
Yeah,
now.
sure. Well, the Apostle Paul brings up in one of the chapters, he says, how can they go unless they are sent?
Mm,
Right? And so we have the goers and the senders.
Mm.
And so you can participate in many different ways. Maybe it's true because there's many times in my life when I was running my business, I was like, there was no way I was going to be able to take off a week to go, to do a mission somewhere. Because the pressure of what God had already called me to was so great. But what I could do is I could give,
Wow, that's a good point.
And then on the flip side of it is, maybe you're feeling sent. Maybe you feel like you need to go. Don't let those thoughts hold you back. Don't let those things, because God wants you to go, because He's going to show up in ways you've never seen, and He's going to show Himself as your Father, like you never experienced before, because you never put yourself in the type of positions you'll be in.
Yeah.
If you've never been out of country, you're going to be outside of your comfort zone.
That's for sure.
And so you're going to be leaning into prayer. You're going to be leaning into God. You're going to be like, oh, these uncertainties.
Yeah,
and then God shows up. And so the relationship you have with a father, it's like the foundation gets stronger, and the truth that you have in your head becomes more in your heart.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's so true because we have all of these excuses or reasons or doubts, and they're like here from our mind. But what you've just shared is it comes from our heart. It comes from our relationship with the Father. So we really just want to encourage you to do a mission trip, right? And to get started. But I also want to make a call to action because I know Lee West and I know what he's done. Someone real close to me as well as Ryan was on that trip to Pakistan. Y'all got back in February, didn't you? We're going to share some photos as we're talking through this with some of the families that they've been able to rescue. It is an amazing ministry, and we want you to know more about it. We'll also put some links in the description below to some of the videos where you can watch that, to the One Rescue website. I really want you to consider, if you can't go for whatever reason, then I really want you to consider to give into this ministry. And I'll put also Ryan's personal link below. You're planning another trip, I hear, maybe in June or when?
Late May. We're going out. We have 6 families that are due to rescue. What reason why I say due to rescue is because somebody had paid off all their debts. And so now we don't rescue a family unless we're able to put them in a position where they can make their own money. And so we're looking for people to donate to, it's like $1,200 to donate towards a rickshaw business, which will take care of their family, and they'll never have they'll have everything they need working with that business. And these are Christian families we're talking about. These are your brothers and sisters in slavery we're talking about. So right now, I believe we have 2 accounted for. So we have 4 more. And then once those 4 are done, which I suspect, and we might end up having more than 6, but the main goal is 6 because they're already like due and mostly put up for. So getting out there to do those rescues and check on our refugees.
So what came to me as you were sharing, okay, you might think $1,200. Oh, but look, find 5 or 6 people to go in with you. If you've got 200, 5 or 300, find some other people that can put that together. We actually know a group that did that actually collected some money from different sources from their work job. A bunch of guys got together to do that, to help help rescue a family.
Yeah,
So,
we call them group rescues. So
okay.
if you want to head up a group rescue, you
Mm,
can get in touch with Lee on email or contact me in a direct message,
yep.
and we can start to set that up. So that way you and your team of people can work on rescuing. Because maybe you're like, what can I do? I can't put
Mm,
forth over $1,000 to help
yeah.
rescue a family, but you'd
Yeah.
be amazed,
Yeah.
at a little bit of out of each everybody's giving
Yeah.
will grow into a rescue.
That's right. That's right. And as you said, it's our brothers and sisters. Jesus said, go ye into all the world.
Hmm.
We start at home, you mentioned that, but we go out to the outer edges into the far corners of the earth. So if this time together with Ryan means anything to you, please contact us. As I've said, I'll put all the different links in the description below, but also share this. Share this with people that you know that might be on the fence about missions, and then let us know how we can help you. Because I like to always say before we get off the podcast, the heart of the matter really is the matter of the heart. Join us next week as we come to you again with another time with the Father. Okay, so Ryan, do you want to set the record straight? Because I think
Yeah.
we said something that your wife doesn't even know. How many kids do you have?
I don't recall having a fifth kid anywhere that I know of, and I don't know why I said five. So we might end up having five now. I don't know what that means. Sometimes it feels like I have five. I but I said five. It's four.